Welcome to the Success IQ podcast, the show for entrepreneurs who want to create and live an exceptional life. I'm your host, Jeff Nicholson, and this is episode 9. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. As usual, I hope you are having a fantastic week. So I've just come back from a retreat this weekend. A really great time. I was with an amazing guy called Derek Mills. He's also known as the Standards Guy. He wrote the book called The 10-Second Philosophy. I highly recommend it. And, you know, it's lovely to get away for 2 or 3 days and just learn something about yourself that's going to help you grow and increase your version of what success is. And not only that, is what you also find in a lot of these retreats is you meet some truly amazing people. And the group who was there, they were absolutely fantastic, and I'm sure I've made lifelong friends with the members who came to that event. So, and also the other cool thing is Derek has also agreed come on the show as a guest. We are just planning with his team the best dates to do that, so that's really exciting too. So what I was thinking of is, because I've given a few of my friends this book to read, and I have a spare copy. So, competition time, the fanfares go. This is the first competition of the show, and I would like to set a task for you, because you know that what I want you to do is I would like you to send me to my email address, which is podcast@jeffnicholson.co.uk, your definition of success as succinctly as possible. So I don't need war and peace. What I want you to do is I want you to define what your level of success is, because you will know, if you've listened to the show, one of the fundamental elements of Success IQ is understanding what success means to you. And quite often when I hear people's versions of success and when they do it right and when they tap into it, it excites me. It sometimes brings me to tears, but it's about you getting it out there and understanding it for yourself. So that is the competition. That is what you need to do to win a copy of this book, which is a truly fantastic book, and it will teach you a lot of things. And what we'll do is we will release the winner in probably next month. So I'll give you a chance all to write it out. And then I will announce it on the show. So yeah, and also I think it's important it's important to identify that if you've been listening to the show, you'll hear that all of the guests have stated how important it is to learn, to get out there and spend time developing themselves, and that's very much a key philosophy of mine, and as you've heard, it's a key philosophy to an awful lot of guests. We don't always perhaps do it as much as we want, but we purposely take time out every week to do it. And so I wish you all the greatest of luck for winning that book, and also that all of the information will be there in the show notes as well. So today we have a truly amazing guest, someone I really admire because of their passion and because of their authenticity in how they teach. And I've got the great privilege to welcome Chris Marr on the show as a good friend of mine. We haven't really known each other that long, but there was something about him that I just said to myself, I need to meet that guy and know more. And it's lovely when you meet someone and your instinct was right, and he is a truly amazing guy. So let's tell you a little bit about Chris before we get him on the show. Chris Marr is a teacher, a student of content marketing. He's the founder and driving force behind the Content Marketing Academy, the UK's largest membership organisation of its type. Chris is the leading voice of the growing content marketing movement in the UK. His pioneering work has helped countless organisations grow through content marketing. His drive comes from the desire to help people break free from the world of interruption marketing. Through workshops, events, coaching, and of course, a ton of freely available content, Chris has become a respected content marketing educator. So, Chris, I just want to say welcome to the show.
Thanks very much, Jeff. I'm really, really pleased to be here. Thanks for inviting me on.
Oh, no, it's an absolute pleasure, my friend. So, Chris, give our guests an opportunity to find out more about your entrepreneurial journey, how you decided to take on this adventure of entrepreneurship, and share with us your experience in that.
Sure thing, yeah, absolutely. Happy to. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak about it. I think the key thing for me is like winding the clock back, not all the way back, but maybe just back like 4 or 5 years for me. I used to work for a company, the University of St Andrews, up on the east coast of Fife in Scotland. Beautiful place if you ever get the chance to visit there. And I worked there for 10 years. And I know that you're interested in the whole personal development journey, and I'm sure your audience are as well, Jeff, is that's where it all kind of started for me. It was about in my mid-20s or so. I'm 35 now, so about 10 years ago, I started taking my role there just a little bit more seriously, started reading books about management and leadership, and around about that same time, social media and all of that kind of stuff was coming into its own, Facebook and Twitter and all of that kind of stuff. And I started to kind of get a real interest in all of that. And in order to advance my career, I decided to go to university. And because I was at the University of St Andrews, it meant I could get a really good deal on my degree as well. So I decided to go to university part-time, started doing all this education, a lot of self-education in my spare time as well. And I started helping small businesses in my spare time, just with their social media and their marketing, and actually started to get a real sort of thirst for all of this stuff. And it was about 2011, there was a couple of trigger points along the way for me. It was about 2011. That's when I left my job and went to university full-time. And as soon as I left, it's a funny thing happened. As soon as I left my job in 2011, I realized a couple of things. One is that I was at university for kind of all the wrong reasons, because obviously I was at university because I wanted to advance my career. But actually, when I left my job, I realized that I didn't want to work for anybody else anymore, right? So it wasn't until that happened that I realized that I actually wanted to go on and do my own thing. So that was one big thing. And I read Crush It by Gary Vaynerchuk. I'm sure a lot of people have read this book as well. And it was when it came out, 2009, 2010 time, I realized then that I never ever wanted to write another CV ever again. I wanted to get my own ideas out into the internet. I started a blog, for example, and that's where I kind of got a real understanding about how this world was changing around me, and everybody else was kind of like static, and I was like putting my ideas and all the things I was learning and all the leadership and management and customer service stuff I was really interested in, starting to put it out onto the web. And the idea was that instead of me writing a CV to get a new job, how about someone that's looking for someone interesting would actually want to find me? And that was the whole idea behind this whole thing, was that Gary Vaynerchuk kind of preached that the CV is dead and the world is changing. And I thought, well, why can't I be part of that? And I actually got my first contract from that really rubbish first attempt at a WordPress website back in 2011. And I went to university, did my degree, and it was through that whole process that I was on that kind of journey to understand, what my passion was, what I was great at, what I really enjoyed doing. And I set up a company called Learning Every Day, which was a general marketing company. I also started a music promotions company. I also got involved in some network marketing as well. I'm sure a lot of people listening have been involved in things like that too. And all of that, combination of all of that stuff, Jeff, long story short, is it all kind of, all just came together. I started to figure out, what I was interested in. And I gave myself permission for a couple of years I've not had a job really since 2011. Never had been employed by someone else since I left my job. And the great thing is when I left my job, they gave me some money, which was good, which funded me through university, gave me that opportunity, I guess, to kind of try a few different things, fail at some things, spend money on things and try out different things, go to conferences, meet new people, all of that stuff. So I was quite fortunate in that way to have a little bit of a buffer to allow me to do that. And then, fast forward the clock a little bit, I started a marketing company, and through that whole process, that's been about 3.5 years now, I've been running this business. I changed the name, the website's changed, the branding's changed, I've completely changed our message, and that whole time, again, still little by little and piece by piece over a period of time, starting to figure out where my sort of expertise is, or where my interests lie, and what it is that I really want to do, and what am I building, and just slowly but surely refining that over that period of time.
Yeah, it's amazing because you talk about sort of like the evolution, don't you, of your business or your personal brand or whatever it is, and it's quite often how you start off on the business is as you develop and as you experience life and as you experience through business, quite often it does metamorphosize, should I say, into something bigger and greater that you can get more behind it.
That's right. So I guess my business went from being a general marketing company where I was helping small businesses and things like that. Then we started doing some agency work, and I didn't like it. I employed some people, didn't really enjoy that so much, even though in my previous job I was an employer of over 100 people. And so on. And it just, yeah, you basically, I think because you're running your own business, right? I think a lot of people fall into this trap. They start their own business because they're good at something, a skill of some description, right? They think they're good at it, so we'll start a business. But then you realize actually running a business is not like having a job. It's a completely different thing altogether. But the other thing as well is that people forget is if you're not enjoying it, right? You built it, right? You've built this thing that you don't enjoy, so you just as much as you built it, you can change it, right? And that's what I've always been so conscious of, is that if I'm not enjoying something in my own business, it's me that created this. This is my fault. Therefore, it's my responsibility to change it, and I'm the only one that can do that. So over a course of like this 3 years or so, like I said, there's a case of me saying, am I enjoying this? Is this what I want to do? Is this taking me to where I want to get to? And if the answer is no, or if I need to change something, I'll just do it. We'll just change it. We'll let clients go. We'll change the name of the business. We'll do whatever it takes, essentially, to make and build the business that I truly want to be a part of.
Yeah, and I think you bring up some great points. I mean, first thing that sort of attracted me to go, I want to get to know this guy more, was the passion that you showed when you spoke at that expo up in Glasgow on content marketing, because you could see that, you know, a mutual friend of ours, Stefan Thomas, he kind of like was following you on Snapchat, and all of this stuff was going on, and then you showed up. And then it was just this amazing amount of passion that you had when you were talking about it. And that's something that is one of those immediate attractors to me, because I've got to know people who, I want to know more about the people that are passionate about what they do, because you see the glint. And I love seeing, I've talked about this on quite a few episodes, when you see the glint in their eye, you know, they are doing what they were put on this, for me anyway, they are doing what they were put on this planet to do. Yeah, and they are allowing themselves to fully express themselves and develop themselves in order to share their knowledge and their passions with others.
Yeah, I think
a huge thing.
Totally key. I think. I mean, people talk about passion as being underrated or overrated and all the rest of it, and I think there's a case for both. I think you need passion to drive you, because not everything you do is going to be something that you truly enjoy, but you have to do. Yes. And it's the passion for the thing that you're trying to get to or want to work towards that will get you through all of that stuff. You'll go to the extremes. You'll read more books, you'll listen to more podcasts, you'll work harder, you'll do more than someone who's less passionate about that thing, probably. Yeah. And I think that's what drives you. And like you said, I mean, it attracts people to you as well. Nobody wants to hang around people who are miserable and negative all the time. No. You want to hang around people who are excited and passionate about their thing that they do. And if you can see that someone's got that, then you're naturally attracted to people like that for some reason. And it's not an act. No. You talked about seeing me. You see someone like that, and they're there doing the thing that they were put on the planet to do. And I think over time you start to figure that out. So if you're in your business just now and you don't feel like you've actually got to that point yet, you've got to keep going until you get to that point where you feel like this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing right now, and it feels right. And then you go all in on that thing, because you cannot be like, this is one of the things I learned as well, is like I learned it the hard way actually, is that you can't be someone else. The best thing you can do is be the best version of you. And that was like a big lesson for me, is like, well, why would you try to be like anyone else? Why not try and be really good at being you? Yeah. Right? Because nobody else can do that apart from you. And as soon as you start to be like someone else, you're lowering your capability or your potential of being yourself. And I think that as soon as you, like you said, you see someone, the glint in the eye, whatever it is, there's something there where that sort of, it comes across as if that person is just doing the thing that they love so much, that they're really great at it, they believe in it, and they're passionate about it. But they're all in on themselves. You know, that's the key. Yeah,
and you can tell from a mile off when people aren't being authentic. As much as people try to put like this facade on, you can, those people that are more in tune maybe with their own personal way of communication, you can tell when someone isn't speaking the truth, or their truth, should I say, not necessarily the truth, but their truth. one of the two other things you talked about is responsibility, which is something that I'm sort of always banging into my clients, or when I'm speaking at events, I'm always talking about that. And it's the only person that can make really the change is us. You know, it's ourselves. And I think so many people quite often blame or are happy to blame because it's easier to blame other people. But we've got to sort of take that. And also the courage mixes in with that as well, isn't it? It's having the courage to do the change. On a dime, we can change the direction of where we want to go because it's our business. And, you know, quite often it's just either one or two or a small team. But it's that responsibility that's so important as well, isn't it?
It's huge. I mean, I have problems with this daily. Like I imagine that. Well, see, I think everybody struggles with it, but some people, and the key is people are able to recognize it faster and get over it quicker than others. So when you see people that look like super confident and huge amount of courage, and they seem to just be so successful at everything, and nothing seems to faze them, it's not that they don't have the same thoughts as you do. It's just that they're able to recognize it a lot faster and get over it a lot quicker than you are, like in seconds sometimes, right? So, and this is the difference between running your own business and being employed somewhere, is that, and in fact, in life in general, you should be looking at how you what your responsibility is. Don't blame other people. And as soon as you do that, my dad taught me this. He said to me, "There's people that stay children." For the whole of their life, even in their 60s and 70s and 80s, is because they can't take responsibility for their own lives. And as soon as you start to take responsibility for the things that are happening around you, and act upon it, then that's the day you become an adult, right? But there's some people that never become an adult in their whole life because they're too busy blaming everybody else and everything else that they can't control. You can't control the weather, you can't control the politics, you can't control financial institutions, you can't control all of this stuff, but there's certain things you can control, and that's one thing that you can control is the environment that you're in, the decisions you make or don't make, and that's all up to you. So if something's happening in front of you, there's a good chance that you can change it, and there's a good chance that you did something to make that happen as well. So you need to take responsibility for those things, and I think a lot of people do that whole thing. Facebook Live recently, I
enjoyed that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, yes, but, and it's like, well, actually, all you're doing there is you're putting that responsibility onto someone else, to something else. You're blaming something else for the situation that you're in. The best thing you can do in that situation is to take full responsibility for it. Like I said, I still struggle with some of this stuff myself, but it's in front of my mind, and I'm constantly reminding myself that, you know, you've got to get over whatever that fear is that you have of something. The only way it's going to change is if you do something about it. It's absolutely key, Jeff. I think it's a major thing, especially when you're in business for yourself. And if you're working on your own as well, even if you've got a team, it could be a virtual team, and you're effectively working on your own. That's when it can really stifle you. It can become a real creative barrier as well. And you know, if you're running your own business, you need to be creative. You need to have ideas. You need to have thoughts. You need to have solutions to problems and challenges. And if you're constantly like using your brain power for things you're afraid of or problems you can't deal with, and displacing responsibility, then you're not going to have time to grow your business, and you're not going to be as creative as you need to be, or on point as you need to be, or have the energy that you need in order to grow and build your business. So I think that kind of emphasizes the point of getting around people. We talk about a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, when I heard you talk, you were talking about content marketing, and you have managed to create this amazing supportive community. And I mean, I've been part of communities online and offline for many years, but what you have managed to create in realistically not actually a huge amount of time, you've created this amazing online community, the Content Marketing Academy. And when you talk about the content marketing, what do you think is the key? Because, you know, an entrepreneur trying to get their information out or trying to promote something, what do you think are the key, sort of three key areas that people need to concentrate on in order to help build that?
Okay, so, it's a good question. I think there's a couple of key things. One is, I'll just reflect on the conversations I have day to day. So it's fairly general, but specific to content marketing. The number one thing that I find is a key barrier to people actually creating great content and creating content that works, that builds trust, that gets customers, that builds their business, is that they don't understand what content marketing is, right? So that's the first thing. So the first thing you need to do is, if you're interested in this, is to figure out what it is, right? And a lot of people have there's a couple of big misconceptions. The first one is that they think content marketing is simply about marketing content.
Yeah.
So taking content and marketing it. Or they think it's actually a blog or an infographic or a survey or a podcast or whatever. But actually, content marketing is not the medium. It's not the actual piece of content that's content marketing. We talk about it as a philosophy. So it's actually the way that you go to market, or the way that you communicate in general. So, for example, this podcast is a piece of content marketing, right? It's essentially you're not selling anything.
No.
We're on here to help. We're here to add value. We're here to share a story. Hopefully, share something that's interesting or fun and valuable to people. That will hopefully give people some thoughts, some ideas. Maybe push someone in the right direction, or spark up some debate about something.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to create a piece of content that adds value out there, right? And I guess rolling into the second point, the biggest challenge we've got now is that there's a lot of it, right? There's quite a lot of content out there. In fact, we're consuming more and more content every single day, and people are creating. Like in our pre-chat, you mentioned a guy who's trying to create 1,500 podcasts in 3 months, and I'm like, holy crap! Who's going to have the time to listen to all of that content? It's a ridiculous amount. It's a crazy amount of content from one single person, one single source, right? In a very short space of time. So this creates this other issue is like, well, how do we get our content seen, right? So what's the key aspects of this, right? One is you've got to understand your audience, right? Number one, who are you trying to communicate with? What are their biggest desires? What are their biggest anxieties? What are their biggest problems? How can you use your skills, your knowledge, your expertise to create content, blogs, podcasts, videos, whatever it might be, to help them right now with that problem without selling to them, knowing that if you can create content that's going to help them and in that moment that they're in, that'll change their lives for them, right? It'll make their lives better, right? That's one aspect. So understand your audience, understand who it is that you're speaking to, put yourself in their shoes. The second thing is obviously creating the best content in your niche as well. Like, so look at, if you're whatever industry you're in, look at what other people are doing, and the chances are that it's not very good, right? They'll have probably created something that is, mediocre at best, right? But you could probably create something better that's far more specific, either go deeper, but also understand that your content doesn't have to speak to every single person on the planet, right? This is the one thing that I realized with the Content Marketing Academy, is that I don't want every single person that I ever meet to become a member of the Content Marketing Academy, right? I don't need you don't need every single client, for example. You only need a certain number. So when you get 100 readers of your blog or 100 subscribers, that's actually really great. That's an audience of 100. You don't need 1,000 or 10,000. And if you're looking at the gurus out there like Pat Flynn and Michael Hyatt and all that, with all their hundreds of thousands of subscribers, that's great for them. Fantastic, really successful people. But you don't need all of that, right? Understand that a niche has as much power as you possibly need as well. So I think that's key too. Is just not understanding just who your audience is, but being conscious of the niche that you're in as well. So really niching down. I think we had again on the pre-chat we talked about this too. Is just getting really specific with your audience too, and talking to a smallest group of people you possibly can. And I think that really in business, especially for you're working for yourself, or if you've got your own small business, I think that really matters, especially with content. Single or the smallest possible audience is definitely a great strategy. So niching down.
Yeah.
So those are kind of like the key points I would say, and I think like to finalize that, or to kind of like draw a line under that, I think the biggest thing is you've got to keep turning up. Yes. You've got to be consistent, not just in your message, but in turning up consistently with great content. So I mean, it takes time. You've got to put, that's the big number one excuse, Jeff, as you probably know, is that someone says, I don't have the time to do podcasts. I don't have the time to write blog articles. I mean, I've got a business to run. If you're not spending at least 4 to 8 hours a week on your business, on your marketing, your sales, then you haven't got a business. You own a job. That's what you own a job. You went from having a job to owning a job. And the key thing there is that you need to make time in your schedule for your marketing, for creating blogs. Like Jeff, you're creating your podcast just now, and I know you're batching a lot of this. There's ways to make it easier. And it doesn't have to take a huge amount of time, but the one thing I would say is it's fun, it's exciting. You're creating content. You're creating content that's going to help people.
Yeah.
That's amazing, right? To put something out into the world that's permanent, that's there, that you own, that's going to help a lot of people. So I think people need to see this content marketing as a way that is something that's a lot of fun and it's exciting. Not that it's not the other way around, which is, oh God, I just don't have the time, or oh God, I've got to write a blog article this week. It's like, you've got to flip, you've got to change the story, right?
Yeah.
And make it something that's fun and exciting, and it's a part of it's how you build your business. It's part of your business. It's part of what you do every single week, and you enjoy. I know people today, right, that if you got in their way on the day for their Thursday for creating content, that they would hate you for pretty much.
Yeah.
They would ban you from their office, right?
Yeah.
They'd say like, the day's my content marketing day.
Yeah.
Do not disturb me with anything else, because this is an important day for me. I love doing this. I enjoy it. And although I've got a business to run, but today is my content marketing day. And I love it, and I'm having lots and lots of fun with it, and it's growing my business,
Yeah, and I think you put a sort of to add a footnote to that before we go to the second sort of section of the show is when that's what I realized is when I was doing mine, I spent most of my time working with my clients. But then you sit there and you go, but I use the word either turn it going pro, or I want to play a bigger game. That's how I describe it. Because for me, it's all about the fun. And it wasn't until really sort of meeting you and looking at it and going, you put through the community like the content challenge, the 90-day challenge.
Yes.
And it was going, all right, okay, if I'm wanting to do that with my business and I'm wanting to do this and improve my game and level up or whatever you want to call it, I have to have more consistency.
Yep.
And, I'm consistent when I see my clients. I have certain days when I work with clients at particular times. And, I block that out because that is key, not only for obviously my business, but also I want to make sure I've got the right amount of time to spend with my clients. But then it's looking at that as if you're wanting to grow, or if you're wanting to make a bigger impact, is you've got to do this stuff. And, you've got to start somewhere. So you might as well do one video, but every week is far better than doing one video every 6 weeks, because it's, as you say, it's that continuous. And once I started to do that, and once I started to understand that, and when we again talked about we should record the pre-talk. And once we talked about the pre-talk, we talked about how, sometimes you can get distracted by that. But as long as it's always about moving in the right direction with whatever content you are creating, that is still maximizing your impact to what you can do, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. So like you talked about a whole ton of stuff in there, Jeff, but it's all really, really important. The consistency, like we talked about the 90-day challenge there, the consistency is so key in this whole thing, especially when you're just getting started. So if you're listening to this just now, listen to us talk about this stuff, and you're thinking about content and videos and blogs and all the rest of it, there's a whole set of reasons why you need to turn up every single week. And it's not just because you need to turn up every single week. There's a lot of things in there like the habit, learning about the type of content you need to create. Like if you turn up every single week for 14 or 15 weeks, right, you learn a lot about yourself in that period of time as well. You've got to create all of that content. It builds a habit. It builds in tons of stuff. You learn a whole bunch of stuff in there. It's just so important.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just think that it's absolutely key. And like you said, the whole thing about turning pro is realizing that actually your business needs this. Yeah. And we're in 2016, and if you're not creating content just now, you don't exist. No. That's the facts, and you can build your business right now in other ways, right? You can do it. You can do the advertising. You can do it the old school way. You can do it that way if you want to. But I tell you right now, you're missing out on a massive opportunity to build an amazing business by not thinking about this stuff that we're talking about today.
Yeah, no, brilliant. Thanks very much, Chris. So unfortunately, I could talk to you about this all day, but we're going to skip to the second part, which is the question time. So what I'm going to do is ask you a series of questions that I ask every single guest who appears on the show. And just because I find it really interesting to find out these kind of questions, I'm inquisitive about that sort of thing. So the first question is, how much time do you spend a month on self-development?
God, I've never been asked that before. A lot, like every single day.
Okay.
I've got books scattered everywhere around the house. All my time. Any spare time I have is spent on learning.
Yeah.
It has to be. It absolutely has to be. You learn. I learning as fast as I can, applying that learning as fast as I can, completely differentiates you from other people, like entirely.
Yeah. And do you prefer reading, or do you like audio books, or do you mix or sort of video with online with all sorts of stuff?
Yeah.
Just whatever. Yeah.
So everything. Yeah. Videos, podcasts, books, audiobooks. I learn from people like yourself, Jeff, the conversations that I'm having, meetings, mastermind groups, the community, resources, everything. Learning is like the number one thing that every single business owner has to do. It's like you have to be part of something that helps you to learn.
No, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. And I think this is the reason why I asked that question is because I want people to understand that you have to invest time in yourself. It's not just a matter of let's start a business and everything's going to be great. It's you are always going to have to develop some skill. It might not be the core skill of your business, but there's always some skill that you have to learn in order to move that business in the right direction.
The thing is, Jeff, just quickly on that, is that see when you're part of a big organization, right?
Yeah.
Your learning is, or see when you leave school, right? At school, your learning is directed. There's a curriculum, there's textbooks, someone's telling you what to do, when to do it, at what pace to do it on, and based on all of that, you get a test or an examination to tell you if you learned enough or not, right? That doesn't happen when you leave school sometimes it happens when you go into a bigger organization, but when you start your own business, your learning becomes self-directed.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of people stop learning when they leave school, but that's actually when it starts. Yeah. And when you start your own business, you can treat it as a place where you're going to learn. Like, for example, in the last 3.5 years, I've learned a lot about myself and business and everything. I've learned more in the last 3 years than I have in the last 15, probably. But I put myself on that journey. I realized that my learning is self-directed. So I have to buy the books. I have to go to the conferences. I have to speak to people I've never met before. And by doing all of that stuff, knowing that I'm learning something all the time, whether or not I'm going to use it or whether or not it becomes, part of my business or whatever, it's always feeding that all the time.
Yeah, no, brilliant. Okay, so the next question 2 is, what is your favorite book and why? Now, it's in the way of getting, helping you grow, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a personal development book.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the number one book that I recommend all the time is The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. It's one of those books that just gave me a severe kick in the butt back in the day. And I think it's a fantastic book. So if you haven't read that, that's like the number one book to read. It's a self-development book, but it's a motivational book at the same time. Yeah,
and I would say the second one is Turning Pro, which is also by the same guy. Yeah, that book was just unbelievable. It almost like I literally changed overnight from reading that book. It was brilliant. So
yeah, I read War of Art I got it given it to me as a gift. I read it in the next few hours. I read it. And everything had changed for me at that point. Yeah,
really, really amazing book. Okay, so what is your favorite? This is question 3. What is your favorite app other than Evernote? Just in case Evernote was going to be.
Yeah. You know what? I use Slack every single day. It's a fairly new app, I guess, on the market, last couple of years or so. So Slack would have to be my most favorite. I've got tons of integrations going in there. I use it to communicate with my team. Yeah. I use it for a community. So
brilliant.
Slack.
Excellent. What was your biggest business mistake, and what did it teach you?
Oh, geez, where do you start? I failed.
Just one.
I fail every day. I'm failing forward all the time. Biggest mistake. Oh, right. Okay. So my biggest mistake was involving my mum in my business. Okay. Number one. And I don't mean it because of my mum. Essentially, what I did was, very long story short, I asked my mum to come and help me with my books, to process my accounts and all the rest of it. But actually, what I should have done was employed a bookkeeper from day one. Right? When I had an accountant and I had all the software, but I wasn't managing it effectively. Someone that has the skills required to do the job correctly. Yeah. I did it in a way that I felt like would be. I don't know if I was trying to do it cheaper. I don't think I was trying to do it in a cheap way, but I was trying to do it in a more. But maybe that's what it was. But essentially what I'm saying is that's the biggest mistake that I made. And essentially the lesson is, if you're going to do something, do it right. Get the right people. If you get the right people with the right skills, even though it might feel like you're quite expensive at the time, you're doing your business a favor.
Brilliant. Yeah, fantastic. Okay. Question number 5 is, what are your challenges in balancing work and life?
This is a daily by the minute challenge.
Okay, yeah.
There's no answer to this, I don't think. I think the answer is in the planning. You've got to plan things out, be prepared, make sure you've got your schedule in place, but also get the people around you on the same page as you. Or not on the same page as you, but be on the same page. Everybody's on the same page, understanding what each of us want out of each day, and making sure that we support each other. That's the key. But sometimes it goes wrong. Like today, for example, every call I've had this morning's been late because I started off late. And sometimes you've just got to write a day off, and start a new day afresh. So I think it's a constant battle. And if you read The War of Art, you'll understand exactly what.
No, fantastic. Good advice there. Okay, so question 6 is, what advice would you give an entrepreneur that you wish you had had when starting out?
That's a really good question. You know what? I think you just got to believe in yourself, right? Well, number one thing is just believe in yourself, because there's hundreds and thousands and millions of people have done what you're about to do, and they did all right. And I think the one thing that I see that stops people moving forward is their own self-belief and confidence in themselves. And I think if you don't have that, everything else will go slower for you, and it won't be as enjoyable, and you'll be worrying and you'll be afraid. Go all in on you. Make sure you do everything for yourself first, money first, profit first, and make sure you bag the right clients from day one. I think that's the key. For me, that would be the advice I'd give myself.
Fantastic. Okay. So the final question is the life lesson question. So as usual, I ask my guests to pick a number between 1 and 50, and the numbers correlate to a lesson that I have learned in my own life. And we just have a couple of minutes just to discuss that lesson. If it either has happened in your life, or whether you agree or disagree with it. It doesn't matter. So what number between 1 and 50 would you like?
Let's go for 22.
Oh, do you know, that's weird. I was just looking at that one. Okay, it's the power of journaling.
The power of journaling, right? Okay, good.
Basically, what I have found is that when I've spoken to successful people, they always have this little notebook next to them, or there's always something that they're taking notes on. But also what I found is it was amazingly useful to write down and record my journey, my thoughts, what was going on at the time, so I can use that to reflect and learn. And I'm just wondering what you think about journaling.
I think it's a great idea. I think that I don't do it, but I have done it in the past, and it's something that's always kind of there or thereabouts. And I do my own version of it. It's definitely not a daily journal, but I've blogged for 6-7 years now, and I always, I've got my notepad in front of me right now. I always writing stuff down, and it's not very well organized. I wouldn't have said as far as journaling is concerned, but I definitely believe in the process of writing your thoughts down on paper or into a notebook of some description. I think that it helps everything, like getting your ideas out onto paper, and you go back through that. A journal, like a system, having a journal system, like I remember the benefits I had was being able to look back through it in a systematic way, like it was dated and there were specific questions, and I definitely believe in it, and I think it's a great thing. When people tell me they do it every single day and they've done it for years, I'm like, that's a massive achievement to be able to do that and document your journey. I'm not very habitual like that, but I definitely haven't, like I cannot be anywhere, even though I'm a digital nomad, I still have a moleskin and a pen, always. Yeah,
and it's that ability, because sometimes you can be you can be so creative that you have so many different ideas. I find it just a great way to curb it slightly, to sort of write it down and go, okay, I've recorded it. I know what I need to do, but I can't actually put the time and effort into it now. Yes. I'm going to have to revisit that. So, because quite often we have these, $1 million ideas that we forget because we've just been lost in the process of doing something else. And it's just that sort of way to do it. So it was just to really find out if you find any benefit in it or not.
Journaling I think is important. I think like even at a basic level of writing down your ideas is really important. Yeah. So even just like taking time out every day to just say like, well, what happened today and what ideas did I come up with, and being able to qualify those ideas. Even if you don't do anything with the ideas, the fact that you're writing them down is actually a good process in itself.
Yeah, and for me is I don't necessarily mean it from the point of view of a structure. I mean, I use the bullet journaling system just because I find it very simple, because I just like simplicity. But I think
if it's simpler, you've more chance of actually doing it if it's simple.
Yeah, and it's also I don't sort of, I mean, when I first started this and when I was told by my my counselor to do this, it was I was like, hang on, I thought teenage girls only did this, because it's like that's what I used to do with my sisters, is try and find it. So I had evidence to have an emotional abuse them to blackmail them. But it is a very cathartic thing I found, just taking those times just to sort of do that. So right, well, we've come to the end of the show, and I'd just like to give everyone an opportunity to find out more about how people can get hold of you and your sort of the links and email and stuff.
Sure, yeah. The best place to get a hold of me, if you've got any questions about anything we've covered today, content marketing, I'd be more than happy to have a conversation with anyone, really, is on Twitter, at Chris Marr 101. And you can have me on Twitter. In fact, any platform, Instagram, wherever, Snapchat, it's always Chris Marr 101 if you're looking for me.
Brilliant. And I'll put all of your all the important links on the show notes as well, so people can get hold of you. Chris, thank you very much. I also just want to say, if any of you want to have a look at the Content Marketing Academy, it is a fantastic, phenomenal platform. I am not an affiliate in any way, shape, or form, but it is absolutely brilliant. It's been one of the best investments I've done this year, and it's definitely something to have a look at. Chris, thanks very much for taking the time out.
Thanks, Jeff. It was my pleasure.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
You look after yourself.
You too.
So if you've got something useful to on the show, please hop over to iTunes, leave a review and a ratings. It helps my impact with the show in spreading the message. It also is a great way to help increase my influence so I can help more people, which is a mission of mine, as you know. If you have any questions or perhaps suggestions of topics that you would like to be covered on the show, please email podcast@jeffnicholson.co.uk. You can go to my website, which is www.jeffnicholson.co.uk, where you can find more information about me, the services I offer, but also my social media links. Generally, I'm under Jeff Nicholson UK, or on Twitter, it's GN Coach. And also, you can hop over to Facebook and search for Success IQ Podcast. And we have just started a Facebook page up for the show as well. So it'd be lovely to see you there as well. So I just want to take this time to wish you an amazing week and also wish you the greatest success. Take care.